Hey everyone, it's Merja here. Great to be here with you today on this live Q&A sesh. We've had some amazing questions in and I'd like to jump into it. Before we do though, I just want to say that I haven't been well. So if I'm blowing my nose during this, don't be grossed out. We'll get there. As you can probably see, I don't have much color on my face. I'm a bit pale, but we'll get there. Okay, first question today. I've made so much progress on my trust issues. However, I find it incredibly difficult to trust men after being cheated on numerous times. It makes me so nervous to think about being in a new relationship. How can I get past this? Great question. Very general question, so I'm going to have to give you a general answer. If you have more details on this, if you want to discuss this more, pop your questions into the comment section. Or alternatively, just drop us an email at desk@merja.sumiloff.com. This can be challenging. This can be challenging because when you've experienced trust issues, and especially if it's plural, so you've experienced several trust issues, and in particular in relation to one specific topic, which is being cheated on. The person has actually shown you that they are not trustworthy in that way, in that particular way. So what that means is that you yourself have to look at this as a gentle extension of the trust to that other person in that particular issue. Or if you're moving on to a new relationship, that you trust them slowly when it comes to that particular issue. So if you are nervous about getting into a new relationship, one of the main things to do between now and then is to get really clear on your own personal values. So if truthfulness is one of your main values, or if fidelity is one of your main values, then you have to be really clear on that, and you need to ooze those values. So you need to yourself live according to those values and have that expectation and be upfront about it, that those are your values. It is completely okay to say to your new partner when you're thinking about getting into a relationship and when you're getting to know the person, that, look, I've had the situation in the past where I've been cheated on. I'm not interested in having relationships that are like that. I am into a monogamous relationship. Just completely own that and give them an opportunity to opt in or to opt out of that relationship. So if they say, you know what, I'm into monogamy as well, even ask them, have conversations about it. Even ask them, do they have a history of, people cheating on them? Or do they have a history of having polyamorous relationships? Or, have they had experience? Because believe it or not, people who've had polyamorous relationships might actually have realized that it's not for them. And that in and of itself makes them more, inverted commas, trustworthy when it comes to a relationship, a monogamous relationship with you, because they've already tried it. There's no kind of, oh, the grass is greener on the other side. Often people who've had more experiences in different ways of relating to each other can actually choose because they know what's right for them. They haven't been shamed into one way or the other of being. So have those conversations up front. Just say, hey, I'm looking for a monogamous relationship, and be upfront about wanting a relationship in the first place. Don't kind of go like, oh, let's just see how this goes. No, just say, no, you know what? This is what I want. Do you want to be a part of that? Yes, no, don't know, all good. If they say they don't know, then you can say, okay, well, that's cool. We can hang out, but I'm not actually going to commit myself to this relationship either until the commitment is mutual to have a monogamous relationship. So that's something that you have absolutely the right to ask for if you're upfront about it. If you're not upfront about it and you assume that everybody wants a monogamous relationship or don't consider cheating to be such a bad thing, then you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for something to go wrong. So take responsibility of who you are, what's important to you, own it, be clear about it, ask for what you want, and then if there's a breach of trust, then, you know, just evaluate if that relationship is worth repairing, if it's worth talking about those things. And if not, then at least you've been very clear about where you're coming from. So we are afraid of the things that we don't understand generally, and we are afraid of the things that we perceive that we have no power over. What I would suggest to you is that you look at what your values are, but also understand that you have the right to ask for whatever kind of relationship you want. And people have the right to say, I don't want that kind of relationship. And that's cool. So the more practice you get into asking for what's important to you, the easier it becomes. And the more you realize that you are an important person and you don't have to settle, the easier it becomes to ask for what you want. So I hope that that answers that question for you. Great question. It's not all men, by the way, that cheat. There are different ways of cheating. So you can cheat by, you know, sleeping with somebody else. You can cheat by sharing inappropriate intimacy with somebody else. Most men cheat by sleeping with another person. Most women cheat by sharing inappropriate intimacy outside of their relationship. So when we're talking about cheating, there's just so many different kinds of cheating. So just because somebody else is doing this to you, my question to you is, how are you doing that in your relationship? Are you contributing to that dynamic? Are you withholding sex, for example? Because that's a way of contributing, using sex as a power game to try and be in control of the relationship. That is a way that you can definitely contribute to your especially male partner going outside of your relationship to have their physical needs be met. Men's needs tend to be more physical, not always. Women's needs tend to be more emotional, not always. I know plenty of women who have physical needs and plenty of men who have emotional needs that are gone unmet, and they do this cheating accordingly. So try not to project other people's coping mechanisms onto everybody that you meet. So going forward, but also investigate how you can contribute, how perhaps you contributed to the past situations, and how you can contribute positively going forward. So being super clear about what you want, or what your needs are, what your values are, and believe that you have the right to ask for your needs to be met. Okay, so I hope that that answers that question. I understand that people who feel victimized by the situation will now tell me that I'm victim blaming and all this. It's not, whenever there are two or more people coming together to co-create, there is everyone's bringing something to the table. And as long as you feel like you are the victim and you haven't brought anything to the table, you will always continue to be victimized. So if I was to say to you, here's how you can empower yourself and not have this experience anymore, a big part of that is owning your own share in what happened and then discontinuing doing. So growing past continuing to play out that same pattern in the future. So I'm not judging you for any reaction that you might have. It is what it is. You were asking, how can you get past this? That is the most effective way of getting past this. Own your own share in it and evolve that you don't continue with the same patterns. Because it could be the pattern that you brought into it could be as simple as you didn't ask for what you needed, what was right for you. Okay. I'd love to hear how that goes.